Bet we live. Mic check. Bet let's talk about this list, man. Bleacher Report got to stop with this. All right, initial thoughts. We're gonna start here. Initial thoughts with the list. First of all, Kobe at 11 is crazy. Kobe at 11 is crazy. If we gonna talk about all-time lists, first, let's not go there first. First, let's talk about Kareem at 3, Bill Russell at 5, and Wilt at 9. Can we do this? If we're gonna go all time, because we got to put everything into perspective. The old guys from back in the day should not be really considered top 20 of all time anymore, because the game it's changed too much. It really has. Kareem, Skyhook, Wemby getting that out of here every time. Like let's not do this anymore. Shaq at 6 and Kobe at 11 is crazy. I don't know. I had this conversation earlier, and my pops was telling me that this list is probably a little more biased, which every list has some bias in it, of course. But Wilt, Larry, Shaq, Bill Russell, Magic to an extent, the entire top 10 list needs to be changed. Yeah, the top 10 list needs to be changed. If we gonna sit up here and say that Larry is better than Steph, you don't know ball for real. You really don't, man. Cause look, Steph changed the game. Larry and Magic, they did their thing when the league was dying. They needed guys to connect to. They needed people who gonna bring both sides of the country together. But that was then. Larry should not be in the same conversation. And I really like Larry Bird game. 6'10", 6'9", whatever he was, could shoot the laces off the ball. He could do all this different type of stuff. Passing was amazing. Great rebounder. He's a champion with a stacked team, but he is a champion. Larry should be more close to that 15 to 30 range, if we being honest. Like, we being real, Larry's he's not top 10 anymore. The top 10 list, it should be more current players. The only players in the top 10, like, look, Michael, 1, he could be 1 or 2. LeBron has a real strong argument for being number 1, because you talk about longevity, you talk about peak, that 2012 to 2016, 17 Bron, the peak LeBron. He has a very strong case being better than Mike. Although Mike, his peak is insane. You talking about a guy that's 30 plus points a game, strong defensively, strong. He's a better passer than people give him credit for. But Braun is a way better passer, way better rebounder. he has more potential defensively just because of his size, 6'9", 260. He can guard 1 through 5. He gotta be at one now. Kareem, we gotta get Kareem out of there. Kareem should not be in the top 10. I know he got 38,000 points or whatever he got. That's not enough. Because when you look at the totality of his game, can he uh can he be out on the perimeter? The game has changed, and with that, the time has changed. We have to look at these lists a little differently. This is a real biased old school list. To have uh Kareem above Shaq is crazy. But I will say this in Kareem's favor. Kareem was a better defensive player than Shaq. Shaq was just big out there. All he wants to do is get buckets, get money, make movies, all this other type of stuff. But that's it's I if, to rearrange this list. Mike still on. To rearrange this list, I put Braun, Braun one, Mike two. I will move. No, we're gonna do it like this. Matter of fact, we're gonna move back to front. Julius Irving. It's all over the place. I have a lot to say with no real structure, so this is how we're gonna do it. Julius Irving at 20, David Robinson 19, Dirk 18, Nikola 17, Kevin Garnett 16, Jerry West 15. We're gonna start from the bottom five. Julius Irving came into the league from the ABA into the NBA, and they don't count his ABA numbers. They only count his NBA numbers. So if he's gonna be on this all-time NBA list, they're gonna have to bring over that ABA number stuff because without that, it's not gonna work. What was he in the league for 10 years max in the NBA? That's not it's not enough of a real career to be considered top 20 of all time. Like you look at this list, the biggest name that's missing from this top 20 is Dwayne Wade, which is the third consensus third best shooting guard of all time. Regardless, people might say, James Harden, step back, triple step back. It's not both sides of the ball, man. And on top of that, uh, Dwayne Wade is a better defensive player, arguably a better defensive player than Kobe Bryant. When we talking about prime for prime, at a shorter height, at around 6'3", 6'4", best blocking two guard of all time. The ultimate slasher. His only knock against Dwayne Wade is his 3-point shot, which is a huge knock because the way that the game has progressed, players are now better and better at making that 3-point shot. So I think he should be on the list. Dwayne Wade, I would put Dwayne Wade right outside the top 10 within that 11 to 15 range. I would move Julius Irving out the top 10. I'm out the top 20. David Robinson out the top 20. Dirk can stay in the top 20, but his defensive ability would move him closer to where that Julius Irving range is. And Nikola Jokic, as great as he is offensively, it's a two-sided. It's a two. You have to play both sides of the floor. That's when you talk about all time. This is the peak of the peak. You have to play every facet of the game. You have to be at least decent at. You go. What's that? All right, back to the rant. What's no idea. It's a lot on this list. Both sides of the ball. So we looking at both sides of the ball. Michael Jordan's elite defender. LeBron, elite two-way player. Kareem was a great two-way player. Magic, he wasn't as great two-way, but he could hold his own, es- especially after the 1990 incident or whatever year that was. If you know, you know. Niggas did not want to be guarded by him. They didn't want to get touched by Magic. Bill Russell was a good defender for his time, but he offensively he was lacking so crazy. Shaquille O'Neal was a below average defender for what he actually does, for what he could have been. You talking about 7'1", 300 plus pounds, extremely athletic, but all he wanted to do was just put somebody on their back. It's like he actually could have dominated the league way more than what he actually did, and that should be a knock against him in terms of all time great. And then you got players like Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, which are elite players on both sides of the floor. Tim Duncan, elite players on both sides of the floor who can do it on both sides, as well as get their guys involved. Maybe not to the extent of a LeBron or a Magic, but they get the job done. 4 to 5 assists, maybe a little lower for Kevin Garnett, but still they get the job done enough. To revamp the last five, we go Julius out, David out, Dirk to the 15 spot, Jerry West out, Nikola Jokic, he should be a little lower, mainly because he's defensive lacking. Kevin Durant is a certified top 10 player. Kevin Durant is more closer to that Tim Duncan range. Tim, I think that Kevin Durant is a better basketball player than Tim Duncan, but in terms of effectiveness for the team that he's on, Tim Duncan is in that top 5 range. Tim Duncan is where Bill Russell should be. So we gonna put Tim. Tim is 5. Mic check. Can y'all hear me? Mic 1 2. Can y'all hear me? Mic 1. 1 2. Let me know in the chat if y'all can hear me. Mic check. Cause I got the chat up on the Check. All right. One, two. All right. So here's the main problem with all these lists. From the top 50 list, the top 75 list, and then this top 100 list that Bleacher Report just put out. You got all these players that played uh, pre 1980 that should really not be on the list anymore. Well, they could be on the list, but just a little further to close to that 100 mark, that 75 mark. There's only a select few players that are actually good enough to be on this top 20 list. Julius Erving is not one. David Robinson is not one. Jerry West, not one. Oscar Robinson, not one. Wilt is not one. Larry has a case to be closest to that 20 mark, but he's still in that 20 to 25 range. Bill Russell is definitely not one. You know, God rest his soul and all that. And then Kareem is closer to that 15 to 20 mark. Everybody else, this whole list really got to be revamped. Besides the 1 and 2, there's a strong argument for Michael Jordan being number 1. We all know what Air Jordan is, and that whole he's a mega icon, probably the biggest name in basketball. I still think that LeBron has the best case to overthrow Michael Jordan as one. 20 plus years in the league, 40,000 plus points. He's going to be the only player to end his career so far that's top top 10 in points, rebounds, and assists with 10,000 plus. However that goes. So with that being said, all them old guys should not any player that played in the league and they had niggas only water fountains. You couldn't use the same bathroom. They was saying all type of crazy stuff to you when you was playing a game. Should not be on the list. If you played in the civil rights era, you should not be in the top 10, top 20 of all time. That's ridiculous. Like, we gotta grow up. It's been too long since Bill Russell played the game that we can't find a replacement for him, for Wilt. We can't find a replacement for Oscar Robertson. Russell Westbrook not in the top 20 of all time for some odd reason. The triple double king not replacing Oscar Robertson is ridiculous. Russ had what in a 4-year span he averaged a triple double for 3 straight seasons. However you feel about Russ, he's a loose cannon and all that. You cannot sit there and tell anybody, you just straight lying to yourself or whoever you talking to if you saying Russell Westbrook is not a top 20 player of all time. You can't. You really can't. You can't say that. The hardest thing to do in basketball is to average a triple double. That means you You on the boards, you getting everybody involved, and you putting up points on the board. And you're not even just getting like a 10, 10, and 10, or like a 15, 10, and 10 like Jason Kidd could do. We talking about 30 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 11 assists, you know what I'm saying, 12 boards, a real solid triple double with a little bit of room for error. And they didn't put him in his top 10 list. So off rip, we have a list that's not it's not objective. If you want to say you want to talk about players at the end of their career, we could talk about that. We could talk about Michael Jordan at the end of his career with the Wizards. He played well, 20 points a game, 20 plus points a game, amazing. That's great. But come on now. We talking about Michael Jordan. 20 points a game for Michael Jordan. That's a bad game. We talking about who else? Dirk Nowitzki, into his career. Dirk couldn't even get up and down the court at the end of his career. David Robinson was a shell of himself at the end of his career. Kobe, God rest his soul, was a shell of himself at the end of his career. Hakeem, at the end of his career, was a shell of himself. So, like, come on now. We talking about, this list is really talking about peak players. Over the course of their career, adding in the peak, Russ got to be on this list. In the top 20 of this list. And so does Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade is consensus third best player. Third best player of all time. Third best shooting guard, of all time. And he's not in this list. You got Julius Irving. You got Dr. J on this list before you put Dwayne Wade on there. Like, what are we really doing? What are we talking about? So we break this list down. We got Michael Jordan 1, LeBron 2, Kareem 3. Kareem should be 15. You got that one skyhook move that's decent. Got him a lot of points. But let's be real. Wemby, getting that out of there. Who else? I actually think Hakeem could get that out of there. It's a lot of players who really can actually play against these players. Which is why I think this whole NBA tier list all time should not be a thing. We have to transition to a list that's more so NBA eras list. You have the pre Jim Crow era. So you got your Wilts, your Koozies, all them guys that played in the 60s, 50s, not Jim Crow, but Civil Rights era. You got your 50s, your 40s, your 60s, and all that. They got to be in their own little category. Your Oscar Robertsons and them. Then you have your Magic era, Magic and Bird era, late 70s to the late 80s, around there. So you got your Isaiah Thomas, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, those type of guys. Then you have your Jordan era, Hakeem, Mike. I guess you could throw Magic in them in that era, even though they was in an older age. But you got those guys, Clyde Drexler. You got those type of guys. Then you have your 2000s era, 2000s to 2010s, and then on. Because what you're really going to find is that the game has evolved so much that the center position is become, you can do it all. You can pass, you can dribble to an extent, obviously. You can defend, and you can shoot. The power forward position has become kind of a three-man. You got guys like Draymond. You got guys like Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, this part of his career, who could do it all. Not the big guys like Karl Malone and Charles Barkley and them, but not Charles Barkley because he's more of a modern style forward. that just played back in the day. But you got guys like Giannis who can do multiple things on the court at that four positions. It's more like a point forward coming through at the four. So all these older guys they can't be on this list no more. Like I'm tired of seeing every time you look at a list, they want to put Jerry West, the logo. We appreciate everything you've done. Let's get this man out of here. It's, your time is past, man. It's 2025. We still talking about Jerry West. We still talking about Wilt and Bill Russell. Like we don't have Giannis, who is Giannis is better than 90% of the players that ever played in the NBA. Like let's be for real, man. Shaq is not better than Kobe. Kobe is for sure top 10. Kevin Durant is for sure top 10. Steph is for sure top 10. Hakeem is for sure top 10. Is there a way I could move this? It's not. It's not. And I wish that Bleacher Report kind of put out a. I wish Bleacher Report put out a a qualifier. Like, what's the reason for this list? Like, how did they come up with these names? Because if we going by championship criteria, which is a way old way to do it that really favors guys that was drafted to a great team, had a great organization behind them, with Hall of Fame teammates and all this other type of stuff with a great system, then you're really leaving out the other guys that are great individual players that just ended up on worse teams. I.e., a guy like Tracy McGrady. Although injuries really hindered his career, he didn't come into a great team situation like Kobe did, or a great team situation like Dwayne Wade did. But he had all the tools and all the talent to get similar things done. Might see it's working now. I don't know why I keep going on. Mic check. One. Yeah, it's back on. Yes, all right. All right, bet we back. So let's go down to let's go where we at? All right, boom. So if we were to redo this list, and let me know if I'm tripping or not. Braun 1, Mike 2, Kareem 3. No. I put I actually put I want to say Tim Duncan because he was just that good. When you really go back and look at the film, look at the way that he was defending, look at the way he was actually getting to his spots, getting to the buckets that he needed to get to. He was able to anchor that defense for San Antonio for at least 10 years, at the very minimum 15 years at a high level. I want to put Tim at that level, but I really don't think Tim Duncan is a better player than Kevin Durant. Yeah, I don't, cause Kevin Durant is the second best small forward of all time for sure, and it's not even close. And Kevin Durant's efficiency actually vaults him over. In my opinion, Kevin Durant's efficiency, especially this late into his career, after having multiple injuries, notably a Achilles injury, for sure he's over Kobe, and that's tough because Kobe is that's Kobe being Bryant, like that's one of them. But Kevin Durant is just 7 foot, dribble like a two guard, shoot from anywhere, finish any type of way, go right, go left, back to the basket. I mean, he can literally do it all. And then on top of that, defensively, which is probably the most underrated part of his game, he'll get you a block or two per game. He'll get you a steal here and there. He'll clean up the glass. And he can do all this at a high level within playing within the flow of the game. Not taking too many shots from other guys. He's not a ball stopper. Like Jason Tatum is crazy at that. He'll catch the ball in the wing and just hold the rock before he make his move 2-3 seconds, completely messing up the entire flow of the offense. I'll put Kevin Durant. I want to put him at 6, right behind Tim Duncan, just because everything Tim stands for. But I gotta put KD at that 3 point that 3 mark. Steph at 4. Tim Duncan 5. It's actually crazy, and I think this is why they made the list like this. Cause it's a hard thing to do. Cause when you really break down the game, it's hard to do. Cause now, are we talking about skill or are we talking about effectiveness? Cause that's really, at the end of the day, that's the big debate: skill versus effectiveness. How good are you at the specific game of basketball? How good are you at shooting, ball handling, finishing both hands? Your back to the basket game, your in between game, mid range. How good are you going left, going right? Can you shoot over the right shoulder, left shoulder? Your step back. How good are you at passing the ball? How good are you defensively? Can you read defense? Can you play on ball defense? Can you play within the lanes? It's hard to come up with a real solid list when you really break down all the factors, and at the end of the day, it's really just lazy on Bleacher Report's part. because they got Bill Russell on the list and Jerry West and Oscar. Like, bro, as much as they done for the game, and I get why they have them on the list because of that. As much as they done for the game, back in the day when nobody was really watching the game and it wasn't as global as it is now, they could have been on the list then. But now, like, imagine for a second you take a player like, imagine you take any player from 2005 forward and put them in the league back in the day. Not any player, but any superstar player. So we talking about the Dirks, the Tim Duncans, especially a perimeter player, and you put them in a game back then. That player immediately becomes one of the greatest players of all time because the perimeter game did not evolve until we got to the 2000s, and they had certain rule changes that allow for a little less physicality, that opened up the mind and the body to actually be able to do more things out on the perimeter. So you take Dirk, for example, a 7'4", right? You take him and you put him in 1985, and he's matching up with Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley would not be able to do anything with Dirk. Dirk back to the basket, turn around, knee him in the gut, shooting right over the top. We talking about 30,000 points in the 2000s. We looking closer to 35, 37, maybe 40,000 points at the end of his career because there's nothing you can do with it. The knee is gonna get you off him. He's already 7 foot tall and he's leaning back. So how you gonna block? How you gonna contest? You foul him, he going to the line. That's automatic too. He's an 80+% free throw shooter. So it's like, you really break down each individual player, this list looks completely different. Completely different. Let's look at the rest of the list because I want to see. Where they actually have these guys late. I want to see where they actually had these guys at. Where am I at? So at 21 we have Moses Malone. Moses Malone at 21 before Dwayne Wade. Look at this nigga. No lineup at all. And he 21. Are we for real? One time champ, 3 times MVP, 1 time final MVP. So like all this is amazing for back then. This is even amazing for now. But his game it's not Giannis. It's not D Wade. It's not Paul Pierce. It's not, man. This nigga, he really need to be closer to that 85 range. Cause when you think about basketball, NBA, there's 450 players in the league at any given time since they had 30 teams. So since around when they add the last teams in 94, was that? Added Toronto and all them. So since then, that's 3,000 plus players that's ever played the game. Moving him close to that 100 mark is not disrespectful. It's not discounting his actual game. It's more realistic to what time will do. Look, though not particularly skilled as a finisher or passer, all those boards produce plenty of second chance opportunities and free throws. So how in the world is a nigga who is not good at finishing, which is putting the ball in the basket, or passing, is top 21 all time? That don't make no sense. Karl Malone at 22. This right here is solid. Karl Malone at 22 is solid. Regardless of how you feel about, what he like to do when he not on the court, which is obviously crazy. He put up a lot of points, although they didn't mean as much because they weren't actually able to win. And they had a good enough team to get that done multiple times. Even against Jordan's Bulls, they actually had a solid enough team to get over that hump. 22 was good enough. And something off topic, I see a lot of people talk about how players chase rings and how players they move from team to team trying to go chase a ring and this and that. Karl Malone, them, at the end of their careers, that's all they was doing. Karl Malone with the Lakers was disgusting. Karl Malone and the Lakers was disgusting. But he did it for the rings. All that to say that Karl Malone at 22 is actually solid. Now this is where they start to get crazy. Dwayne Wade at number 23. Now look at this. 3-time champ, 1-time finals MVP, 8-time all NBA, 13 times all-star, 3-time all defense, and 1 scoring title. Remember that. And then we go back to this. He played in 1980s, right? That means he was at least born in 1971. Am I tripping? Oh my God, 1975 is when he came to the league. Where was he drafted? Oh, God rest his soul. He died in 2015. So is this what we doing? Somebody passed away, then we just automatically just move them up and keep them in their spot? 21-year career, which is a long time. He had a great career. Debuted in 1976. Played a year in the ABA. He was born in the 50s. So when everybody was marching and doing all this, he's in the league. You can't tell me that he's better than Dwayne Wade all time. Or Karl Malone. You can't tell me that. That's ridiculous. Third best shooting guard of all time is sitting at number 23. And then we have these niggas put Giannis at 24. Giannis should be in the top 20. Arguably top 10 of all time when you really think about the past 3 or 4 seasons he's been averaging 30 plus or at that 30 points a game mark with 10 plus rebounds, 3 to 5 assists a game, shooting incredible splits from the field, around 50 to 60% around in that range, field goal percentage. one-time champion, two times MVP, one-time Finals MVP, one-time DPOY, eight-time All-Star, nine-time All-Star, eight-time All-NBA, excuse me, nine-time All-Star, five-time Defensive Player of the Year. If Giannis retired now, he's top 15 players of all time. You really can't tell me that there are 15 more effective players that have played in the NBA. Regardless how you feel about his game, he doesn't have the best jumper. He isn't the most well-rounded in terms of offensive abilities, but he puts the ball in the basket, and he stops the opposing team from putting the ball in the basket at an elite level, all-time great level, since his breakout season. So Giannis is definitely top 15 players of all time. Charles Barkley at 25 is solid. One-time MVP, 11-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA. What's his name? The Round Mound Rebound. Incredible nickname. Probably the most applicable nickname that any players has gotten. So 25 is a great spot for him. Elgin Baylor, 26. Elgin Baylor should be close to that 50 range, 50 to 75. Why? (1960s). He shared an era with Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. They couldn't use the same bathroom as their teammates. So they weren't getting the same training. They weren't getting the same nourishment. They weren't getting all the things that make all the other players play better. They weren't getting all that stuff. And that could be used as the argument as to why they are so great. They played in the era where they didn't have, and they had more struggles and they had more things to go against them. They had to really fight and prosper for these, these buckets that they're giving people that just got off of a shift. They just got off work being a plumber, or they just got done teaching. They they had a middle school teacher playing basketball, trying to get some extra bread on the side, and he go out there and score 27 points a game, getting 13 rebounds when nobody else is getting boards except for Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain. So it's like he gotta move further down. Isaiah Thomas, 27. I feel like Zeke should be closer to that 20. 27 is actually solid for him. He's a shorter guard, so in terms of skill, he's gonna have the skill just because he's closer to the ground, so he can dribble more. He can shoot better because he has to play on the perimeter. But with all that being said, Isaiah Thomas is better than Julius Erving. Isaiah Thomas is better than Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Them older guys, they didn't play against enough competition to be considered greatest of all time. They didn't. It's not enough. Scottie Pippen at 28 is solid. The prototype for the two-way player. The point forward who can do it all. Rebound, score, pass, defend at the elite level. 28 is solid. I like to see him closer to that 25 mark. He does get a lot of he doesn't get looked at as the actual player that he was because he played alongside Michael Jordan, who was considered the greatest player of all time. So you look at him a little lower because he was the sidekick, so to speak. But he was an absolute monster. John Stockton at 29. Here's where things get kind of crazy. Because John Stockton, as great as he was, was not a better point guard. Although he has all them assists, which there are theories, and I don't know if it's been 100% proven or not, but there are theories that John Stockton didn't even actually manage to get every single assist in his career that he got. But, that's the numbers that he has. Chris Paul is undoubtedly a better point guard than John Stockton. You can't really use uh the ring excuse with them. Neither one of them won a ring. Chris Paul in the modern era has 12,000, almost 12,500 assists. So he's 3,000 assists lower than John Stockton. But also is a better scorer than John Stockton. A better defender than John Stockton. I'm talking about prime for prime. Bigger than John Stockton, not by much, but enough to give him that edge over John Stockton. And I seen him on the list before before Chris, CP3. So John Stockton definitely should be lower on this list. He should be around that 35 to 40 range. Just because when you actually look at what a player can do on the floor, there are players who can do more than him on the floor, who are more effective than him on the offensive side and the defensive side on the offensive side and the defensive side of the court. Great player though, all time great, just not 29. And then they got CP3 right behind him. That's ridiculous. He's been called the point guard for a reason. Up until recently, any team that Chris Paul has played on, you look at the season before and the season after he got there, better team. Immediately. Impact player. That's impact player. Immediately when he gets on the team, he's a better team. You look at OKC. He joined that team. They went from being scrubs to actually having a direction that they are moving towards. You look at the Clippers. He changed the Clippers from the basement team. They still the basement team. But he changed them from a team that nobody cares about to having an actual fan base that people really could get behind with Lob City. All-time great. Should be close to that 25 mark. 25 best players of all time. Because he is a top 5 point guard of all time. John Havlicek. 8-time champion. So once you get past 5 champions, we have to start looking at the competition like a little sideways. One, we have to start looking at the competition sideways. 2, we have to start looking at the team sideways. Because in what world could you really put together a team that can win 8 straight championships, and there's not some part of the league that's rigged to not be like 8 championships is crazy. 11 All NBA appearances, 8 All Defensive teams. Great for his time, and we should leave him there. He should be close to that 50 to 75 range. Kawhi Leonard, the Claw. 2-time champ, 2 times Finals MVP, 2-time DPOY, 6-time All-Star and All-NBA, 7-time All-Defense. One of the greatest two-way players of all time. At one point, he was considered arguably the best player in the league. Around 2019, 2018, whenever KD got injured and Bron, you started to see the decline in Bron athletically, Kawhi was the next guy that was the best player in the league. To have him at 32 all time is crazy. Because if you are considered one of the best players in the league for a stretch, although injuries have really hindered his growth in that department, at any point that you are considered one of the best players of the NBA in that era, you should be closer to that 20 range. Now, injuries is a big reason why I would say that him at that 30 mark is actually a good position for him, because you couldn't really see him at his apex for an extended period of time. That's the longevity argument, right? You couldn't really see him actually get to what he could actually do on a consistent basis, and possibly form, a dynasty, so to speak. So 32 is actually solid for him. Jason Kidd behind John Stockton is crazy. Jason Kidd is essentially John Stockton. That's 6'4", 6'5", who can play better defense. I say he can actually pass better than John Stockton. He just didn't really have that system that John had with the pick and roll, and he didn't have a elite big or four man, if you want to call the power forward a four man, not a big, because centers is a big or whatever. He didn't have that for an extended part of his career. One-time champ, 6-time All-NBA, 10-time All-Star, 9-time All-Defense, 5 assist titles. That's a crazy resume. While playing against the better athletes of NBA history, playing with better athletes of NBA history, and still getting it done with a broke jump shot. So 33, he should be. If Jason Kidd is gonna be at 33, John Stockton got to be 35 and lower, or higher. Yeah, 35 and higher. So 35 to 45, around anywhere around there. James Harden. James Harden had arguably one of the best NBA runs offensively that we've ever seen. He had a stretch of averaging 35 points a game, 36 points a game. Dribbled the air out the ball. Absolutely. Usage rate was through the roof. But he got it done within that system. That system was made for him to do that. Similar to the Steve Nash and D'Antoni system in Phoenix. The point guard has the ball the most. He gets everybody involved. The only difference is he took it upon himself to get himself involved a lot more. And yeah, you could say he was a free throw merchant, which he was. The true definition of a free throw merchant. Led the NBA in free throw attempts per game in 7 out of 8 seasons, which is insane. But he played no defense, like zero defense. He'll literally let a guy run past him and get the easy lay for no reason. So 34 is solid for James. I like to see him closer to that 25 mark, because offensively he makes up for his lack of defense. But on the other side of that token, it's not even the same token, honestly. He just does not play well in series closing games in the playoffs. He's choked time and time again. Steve Nash, better than John Stockton for sure. Similar player. Steve was not as good defensively as John, but he's a better passer, more creative passer, a better shooter. 50, 40, 90 club, I think he made it 4 times, which is the most out of all players in NBA history. So, he's great. Maybe the least athletic player that of that caliber. But 2-time MVP, which should have went to Kobe. 7 times All NBA, 8-time All Star, 5 assist titles. Great player, great career. 35 is solid for him. I like to see him close to that 30 range. just behind uh what's bro name? James Harden, and then we have Allen Iverson. AI is better than Steve Nash. AI is actually better than uh what's my guy name? Dr. J. AI. A lot of people probably would have AI in that top 20 range. I have him just outside the top 20 because as much as he was a scorer, the way that he played the game wasn't the most efficient. He liked to get to the rim. He put a lot of pressure on the rim. He didn't have a great team around him, so you couldn't really see his full scope of what he could do offensively. I believe he really could have had more assists had he had better teammates to actually hit the buckets that he needed to get that needed to be made. XYZ, they could implement a different system for him. Cause we talk about a player who can get downhill with the best of them, who can rise with the best of them. You can't really name a lot of players better than Allen Iverson, and he's an undersized guard. But with all that said, he should be in that 20 to 30 range. 36 is a little low for him. One-time MVP, 11-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 4-time champ, 3-time Steel champ. And these numbers are crazy, but look at the efficiency. He's an undersized guard, so I would have liked to see him play a little more in the, mid-range area, the three-point line area. If he could have developed a better jump shot, which I feel like he would have done, having been in a better system with better offensive players surrounding him. But it played out how it played out. Oh my God, Bob Cousy, 37. Look at this. Six-time champ, one-time MVP, 13-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA, 8 assist titles. So obviously they just put this list together just to appease the older people, because there's no way that you see a guy. You go on YouTube and look up some Bob Cousy highlights. You look at the way he dribbling and shooting free throws and all this. Like, there's no way that you can see that and say he's a 37 out of the possible thousands of NBA players of all time. You cannot say that he's 37 out of all those players. He might not even be top 100 for real. Like, this is nasty. It's nasty work. And they're gonna double back with another one. Bob Pettit, one-time champ, 2 times MVP, 11-time All NBA, 11-time All Star, two scoring titles, 26 points a game for his career, 16 rebounds, which is crazy. 6'9" big man. The first two eclipsed 20,000 career points in the league. All-time scoring leader when he retired. So that's pretty much the reason why he's on this list. He did it before anybody else did it. Wilt passed him up in 66, which is ridiculous. Like, clinching the game in the 1958 finals. Look, he look racist a little bit. Like, all these 50s and 60s players, you gotta get them out of there. Like, we can't keep doing this, man. Clyde Drexler. He's a little lower on this list than I expected. I expected him to be above the likes of Bob Pettit and Bob Cousy and all these Bobs and stuff. Because he was an actual bucket. He just played, in the era of Jordan. And they say that if Jordan went around, that he would have been a Jordan of his time, which I think is, I think that's BS, honestly. I think that Jordan was just Jordan. And Clyde was Clyde. 20 points a game for his career is not 30. but he was a high flyer, and he could put the ball in the basket. One-time champ, 10-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. Played for 15 seasons, which is a long career. He should be closer to that early 30 range. He should be around 32, 33. Patrick Ewing. All-NBA, All-Star 11 times. 7-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense. Now, Patrick Ewing he's an all-time great big. At 40, it's understandable. But when you got these other players that played, before he was born and stuff like that, or around the time he was 5, 6 years old, he should be in those positions. We should move him a little further up. I don't think he's top 5 big, so I'm not mad at him being at 40. I still think there are other bigs that they have yet to name that are better than Patrick Ewing, like Dwight Howard. It had a better career than Patrick, better player than Patrick. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on other big names, but he had a great career. He wasn't as polished offensively with the likes of Hakeem and all those type of bigs, but he held his own for as long as he could. Great player. I like to see him run at 35 range though. 40 is not bad because it's only 5 spots lower. I do not think there are 40 players. But I do think there might be 40 players better than him. So 40 is actually solid for him. Yeah, 40 is solid for him. Rick Barry. 1-time champ. 1-time Finals MVP. 6-time All-NBA. 12-time All-Star. NBA Rookie of the Year. 2-time scoring champ. One of the best, this is what they're saying, one of the best offensive players the league has ever seen. So what's the criteria for one of the best? Because like when I hear one of the best, I think top 10, top 15. That's one of the best. Once you get outside of that top 10, top 15, are you one of the best offensive players the league has ever seen? Because once there are guys coming into the league like Kevin Durant who can average 30, playing a game that's completely different than the game he played. It's not like back in the day. I don't even know if that was really basketball for real. Because you talking about schemes and you talk about the ability to put the ball in the basket, the ability to stop the other team from putting the ball in the basket. It's different. It's just a different game all around. Barry averaged 29.5 points, 5 assists, 3.5 steals a game. Great numbers for his time. But when you talk about throwing the icon underhand, see that underhand free throw stuff is not right. I mean, he made it at 90%, so I can't really say much. But I'd like to see him close that 41. I like to 41 is actually solid for him. Cause he's not better than he's not a better player at his position, which I think I don't want to say that argument because I already see the flaws in that argument. Then I want to say Patrick Ewing is at the center position, but 41 is solid for Rick Barry. I do think there are better players that have came through this league. For sure, Dame is better than him. For sure, James Harden is better than him. For sure. Which I didn't see Dame yet. Kyrie Irving is a better player than him, for sure. T-Mac is a better player than him with the injuries in his career. For sure is a better player than him. Grant Hill is a better player than him. 14-year career is a long career, so, props to Rick Barry. Iceman, George Gervin at 42. 7-time All-NBA, 12-time All-Star, 4-time scoring titles. 4-time, Mr. Finger Rolling himself. 42 is actually solid for him. He played in the 70s and the 80s, so he's on that cusp of not You know what I'm saying? Being eligible for the list, honestly. But he was actually a great player. He's a great scorer. I liked his game for the time that he was in. But this 40 range is where these type of players belong. The 70s, early 80s players belong in that 40 to 60 range. Anything higher than that is disrespectful to the players of now and the players of the early 2000s. Look at this nigga, Walt Frazier, 43. Two-time champ, six-time All-NBA, seven-time All-Star, seven-time All-Defense, and All-Rookie First Team. That should not be on here. Rookie of the Year or not. That's it. Great player for his time. Solid efficiency, shooting 49% from the field. Played 13 seasons, which is a great career. It's a long career. I think the average career is like around 4 to 7 seasons. So doubling that is great. Tripling that is great. But he played in the 70s with the mutton chops. It's not good enough. He's not better than 18 points a game. I understand if you want to put a player that had crazy numbers for his time, you want to put him in that list with the likes of James and them, Dame and them. But like, let's be for real, bro. 18 points a game is not cutting it for the type of players that we seeing and the skill level that we're seeing of today, or of the last era that was great, the 90s and the early 2000s. 18 points a game is not cutting it. That's the second best player on the team, third best player on the team today, getting under 20 points a game. They managed to put him at top 50. All right, George Mikan. He played 7 seasons in the NBA. That's not enough. They need to have a criteria where you at least 10 seasons or more playing in the league before they just start putting you in the top 50 of all time. (1947). He was playing in the 40s. When the game, didn't they start basketball in the 40s? So he's one of the first players. Let's get him out of there. His time has been passed. We coming up on 80 years since bro was doing his thing. 5-time champ, 6-time All BBA, NBA selections. Like, you line up George Mikan, you line him up with Hakeem, George might try to lynch him. I don't know, let's move on. Tripping. He should be close to that 80 range though. Really, he shouldn't even be in the top 100. He really should not be in the top 100 of all time, honestly. Anthony Davis at 45. AD versus George would be crazy. Anthony Davis is probably one of the most versatile bigs that the league has ever seen. You talking about a big that can play on the perimeter. He can go in the post. He can be the dunker. You can throw lobs. He can play the actual pick and roll. He can step up on the pick and roll and get back down to the dunker spot to protect the rim. He can guard multiple players at one time. He's one of the best players of all. He's one of the best power forwards of all time. And they got him sitting at 45 for whatever reason. 1-time champ, 5-time All NBA, 10-time All Star, 5-time All Defense, 3-time block champ. The numbers is crazy. He's played 13 seasons already, so he's still going with the longevity argument of having a great career for a long period of time. Only him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has averaged at least 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks for their careers, a minimum of 750 games. That's crazy. That's insane. He's definitely a top 30 player of all time currently. I can actually make an argument that he's top 20, 25, not top 20, he's top 25 players of all time. Kevin McHale. I think 46 is actually kind of solid for Kevin. I would have liked to see him on a team where it wasn't as loaded as that Celtics team. I know he was a great back to the basket player. Solid size for the four-man position. Uh, Averaging 18 points a game, 7 rebounds. Like 7 rebounds as a big is not enough to be considered top 50 in that position. He's solid player, great back to the basket game. He had unbelievable touch, but he's not top 50. He's close to that top 60 range, top 65. Elvin Hayes. I know I just saw. Uh, when did he play? Cause I know he played way back in the day. Let's look him up real quick. See, look, 1969, 1984. No, he had a long career. He was born in the '40s, so like it's not enough. It's too long ago. The game has evolved too much for him still to be amongst the top 50 players of all time. You have to move with the times. Update the list. Great player for his time. But this right here is crazy. 45% from the field as a big is no bueno. It's not good. And then they're gonna put Russ after him. One-time MVP, 9 times All-Star, 9-time All-NBA, 3-time assist champ, 2-time scoring champ. Russ is he actually has an argument for one of the best guards to ever play the game, point guards to ever play the game. He has arguably the highest peak of a point guard to ever play the game. You could say he was stat padding, all this and that. You can't really name a lot of players who could stat pad at that level, with that energy level, with that velocity, being 6'3", 6'4". You know what I'm saying? With other big players at that position. Average a triple double for multiple seasons, but they're gonna have Oscar Robertson in the top 15 and leave Brody out the list and put him barely making the top 50 of all time. And I feel like with Russ, it's a lot of recency bias. Although his field goal percentage is low, he's done too much for the game and has put too much. His numbers have been too crazy in the modern era for him not to be a top 30, top 25 player of all. He's really more in that top 30 to 35 players of all time because of his inefficiency. Played a long career, 15 years is a long time to be in the league. Paul Pierce, 19.7 points a game, so around 20 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. 1-time champ, 1-time Finals MVP, 4-time All NBA, 10-time All Star. Played almost 20 years. One of the greatest scorers of all time, according to him. He was a bucket for sure. But I think that top 50 for Paul Pierce is good for him. I think that he didn't have a long enough peak, like his peak wasn't as long as the other players within his era to consider him being in that top 30. He could be top 30 because there's a lot of older guys in that list that that gotta get out of there. But he's for sure better than Bob Pettit and Bob Cousy and all them type of guys. Moses Malone and them guys. He's definitely a better basketball player than them. And he could play defense when he needed to play defense. Although I would like to see him play more defense for longer. Just really embrace both sides of the court. But yeah, 49 is crazy for Paul Pierce. He's close to that 30 to 35 range. Dominique Wilkins rounding out the top 50. 7-time All-NBA, 9-time All-Star, 1-time scoring champ. Played 15 years. Dominique was a bucket. He played against Bird. His team wasn't as great as the Celtics and all that. But he was a great player. He really was. High flyer. Really set the tone for players who like to, dunk within the modern era. I know not the modern era, but the 2000s, the 90s to the 2000s. He was really one of those guys that really opened players' eyes to the creativity within doing the windmills and double clutches and all that, the high flying, high power dunking styles. He's really an innovator for that. So having him in the top 50 that's a great spot for him. I like to see him close to that 45 to 40 range. But top 50 is respectable for him. Have we seen Kyrie Irving on this list yet? Ray Allen at 51. 51 for Ray is Ray was a bucket, especially early in his career. He could really get to the basket, play some solid defense, turned himself into a 3-point specialist later on in his career. But there are plenty of players who are still better than him to put him at 51. Now, I'm not mad at 51 because there are other players on this list that shouldn't be there. There are extra spots available, but I think Ray Allen is closer to that 70 range, 60 to 70 range in terms of best players of all time. I think that him being one of the greatest shooters of all time, arguably the second greatest shooter of all time. Some people want to put Reggie above him. Some people want to put Clay above him. So whatever that 2 to 4 range is. But he's definitely one of the greatest shooters of all time. So 51, you can't really be mad at because of how great of a shooter that he is. But when you talk about the totality of the game, and he has had multiple different aspects of his game that he's shown, 51 is not. That's a little gratuitous of them to put him there. Dwight Howard finally makes an appearance at 52. 1-time champ, 3-time DPOY, 8-time All-Star, 8-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defense, 5-time rebound champ, 2-time block champ. One of the greatest defensive players of all time, especially in the modern era. 15 points a game, 11 rebounds, nearly 2 blocks a game, shooting at nearly 60%, 59% from the field. Played 18 seasons, great career. Obviously, his career was his peak was cut short by injuries, and he came back way too early from them injuries. It's whether that be an excuse or not, that is just how it played out. So seeing him this far down the list because of how short his peak was, you can be mad at it, but it makes sense. I would like to see him above the likes of Moses Malone, Rick Barry, Bob Pettit, and them guys, because his peak was just better than their peak in terms of a basketball player. He was one of the greatest lob threats that the league has ever seen. He was 6'9", playing like he's 7 foot. He was one of those guys that your team could play bad defense on the perimeter and he would clean up your mistakes. And you could make more gambles. So if he had a better team all around, he could have actually done a lot more for that team. But with all that said, I think that he's definitely a top 50 player of all time, closer to that 40 to 50 range rather than 50 to 60. Gary Payton, the glove, one-time champ, one-time DPOY, 9-time All NBA, 9-time All Star, 9-time All Defense. One of the best defensive point guards of all time, regardless of era. A lot of the tools and the tricks that he used could still be applied today. Wouldn't really be called as a foul, although he kind of grew up in the era of hand checking. He could still move his feet with the best of them. He had great hands. He could, pick your pocket and do all these different type of things. But he's not. There are a lot of guards that are still better than Gary Payton. When you talk about pound for pound player, you talk about offensively. There are not a lot of players that are better than him defensively. So I can see why they have him at 53, but I would like to see him close to that 60, the number 60 of all time, because there are still players like Kyrie Irving that's just better, a better basketball player. Even considering Gary Payton's defensive prowess, that are still better than him. That are still better than Gary Payton. But 53 on this list is solid for him. Reggie Miller at 54. 5-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA. Now, he's probably one of the most he's probably the highest player on this list with the least amount of accolades. That may be because of the era that he played in, who he was going against, the conference he was in. He is one of the greatest shooters of all time, but defensively, he wasn't that. Offensively, he couldn't shoot the laces off the ball. Obviously, with a nearly 40% career 3-point percentage, he's not top 60 of all time. He's probably close to that 70 to 80 range because he is more of those one-dimensional type players. He wasn't gonna guard his matchup and really lock him down. But offensively, he was one of those guys who can move without the ball really well and light you up from three. Bill Walton. This nigga like a Sasquatch. 2-time champ, 1-time MVP, 1-time Finals MVP, 2-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Star. Only played 10 seasons, which is longer than the average, but it's not long enough to be considered, in my opinion, top 60 players of all time. He played in the 70s, 80s. He's getting close to that mark of, being too old to actually compete with the players of today because of the way that the game has evolved. 13 points a game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks on 52% shooting. Yeah, this is not good enough. Although he had more of an impact on the game for that time, to put him above to put him at 55 is disrespectful to the other players who has come through this league. Dolph Schways. Okay. We don't really got to talk much about this guy because he shot 38% from the field. if you're shooting 38% from the field and you're considered one of the top perimeter shooting threats of your era was trash. Point blank. Yeah, he played in the 50s. We're not talking about this. This is ridiculous. The next player on the list is better than him. So why? Like, how can he be in the top 100 players of all time, shooting 38% from the field, averaging under 20 points? They put Luka after who? Dolph Schway. They put Luka after him. 5-time All NBA, 5-time All Star, 1-time scoring champ. Career averages 28.6, 8.5 rebounds, 8 assists, and 1 steal a game, shooting 46% from the field, 35% from three. In 7 seasons. In 7 seasons, he's better than half the players on this list already. Definitely within that top 20 of all time players list range. You would like to see him play for at least another 6 seasons, 5 seasons for him to crack that top 20, definitively crack that top 20. But he's for sure better than the last guy we just named. Luka is really probably the best European player of all time. He's definitely, I feel like he's better than Jokic because he has more defensive potential than Jokic for sure. No, he for sure can't compete. But uh he just needs more time in the game to get into that top 20 range. At 57 is for sure disrespectful for Luka. Cause you really can't tell me 57 players that's for sure better than him. Willis Reed. All right. So they got him over T Mac, which is crazy. They say Giannis is the best Euro. Giannis is the African from Greece, though. I don't know if he is Greece in Europe. Do they consider that Europe? If Giannis is considered a European player, then yeah, Giannis is the best Euro player of all time for sure. But in terms of effectiveness, if we talking about skill wise, Luka is better than Giannis in terms of skill. He can pass better. Uh, he can score the ball better. He can shoot better. He in terms of defensiveness, defensive ability, yeah, Giannis is better for sure. Yeah, Greece is Euro. Yeah, for sure. Then yeah, I can say that Giannis is a better Euro player than Luka. But on that same token, Luka is a younger player who has more time to fully develop it, especially defensively. Which I don't think he'll ever be as good as Giannis defensively, but he can definitely improve. Willis Reed, 2-time champ, 1-time MVP, 2-time Finals MVP, 1965 Rookie of the Year. Yeah, let's move on. If you was a rookie in the '60s, you're not competing with Luka. You're not, bro. You're not competing with guys like Dame, a guy that can literally walk past half court and pull. What can you do with that if you playing in the '60s? And then got T Mac right behind him. 7-time All Star, 7-time All NBA, 2-time scoring champ. Career averages of 19, 5, and 4. Shooting 43% from the field, 33% from three. Played 16 seasons, long career, but was definitely cut short. His peak was cut short through injuries. But with all that being said, I still think he's better than the likes of Willis Reed, uh, Dolph, what's his name, Dolph Schwartz or whatever his name was, Dolph Hayes. He's definitely better than that type of player, especially when you go peak for peak. And that's something that I think that these type of lists need to encompass when they want to group in every single era. You have to group in the peak of the player, and then after that, add on the longevity of said player. And that although that injuries is part of the game, and they do hinder certain players from being higher on certain lists, if that player's peak is better than another player that's considered ranked higher than their peak, they should be, if not close, if not closer to that player, they should be ahead of them easily. Cause we talk about T-Mac, you literally talking about one of the most skilled shooting guard / small forwards of all time. Put the ball in the basket from any position. He can actually play solid defense. 6'8" with incredible footwork, great mid-range game, could shoot the 3-ball. It's just sad that injuries really hindered us from seeing his full potential. I would like to see Tracy McGrady close to that 40 range than being in the late 50s. Melo is better than T-Mac, point blank. You want to go peak for peak, Melo is still better than T-Mac. 6-time All-NBA, 10-time All-Star, 1-time scoring champ. 22.5 points a game, 6 rebounds. A little under 3 assists a game, so you know you weren't passing the ball. Shooting right under 45% from the field. One of the best ISO players of all time. You talking about one of the best offensive players of all time. You talking about a guy who can go back to the basket, face up, 3-pointers, catch and shoot off the dribble. You can throw him a bomb, shot clock running down. He still has the capability of making it. He just ended up playing for an organization in New York that wasn't the best organization, especially in terms of building a team around a specific player. And it had a lot of turmoil around that, and that really hindered his career. I wish he would have gone somewhere differently than New York. I would like to see him kind of stay in Denver or team up with Bosh and them, not Bosh, but D Wade and them. But with all that said, his career turned out how it turned out, and he's still he's still higher than 60 of all time. He's really close to that 30 to 35 range. One of the best offensive players the league has seen. Then we got Bob McAdoo. 2-time champ, 1-time MVP, 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 3-time scoring champ. Bob not better than Dame. Bob was great for his time, for the 70s and the early 80s. Played 14 seasons. 6'9", scored inside, outside. Played before the 3-point line. But he's actually, I like this spot for him. Played 14 seasons, 61. This is where these type of players should be. 70s and early 80s players should be in the later half of the top 100. So this is actually a great spot. I can't really say too many bad things about his placement. He played great for his time, for his era. I do think that with the proper training that he will be able to transfer eras. But this is a great spot for him. Paul Gasol, 62, 2-time champ, 6-time All-Star, 4-time NBA. Played 18 seasons. Now, Paul Gasol was a great player. I do think that this is a great spot for him. He was a great floor spacer for the time that he played in. He's definitely one of those guys that could have played in today's era and actually contributed to today's game in one of those ways that is like inside out big, can protect the rim, great in the pick and roll. He could play pick and pop. Um, he wasn't a liability on either side of the floor. So his game was all around. So I kind of think this is kind of low because I do not think that Bob Pettit was better than Paul Gasol. We talking about player for player, skill set for skill set. You can take Paul Gasol and put him on a lot of different teams, and he can still be effective for said team. So I like to see him close to that 50 range. James Worthy at 63. I think James is better than Rick Barry. He just ended up being on the team that was so stacked that he just couldn't put up the numbers that other guys can put up. 3-time champ, 1-time Finals MVP, 2-time All NBA, 7-time All Star. He's one of those guys that, as good as they were, you never can really know how good of a player that he could have been because of how great his team was. But on the other side of that, he got all the team success that he probably wouldn't have gotten if he was on any other team during that time period. So he add all that up. I do think that at 63, that's actually a solid spot for James. And then you're going to put Dame after James. Dame is one of the best point guards, offensive threats in the point guard position that the league's ever seen. Although he does have some flaws in his game when you look at him playing within the pick and roll. A lot of times he doesn't use the pick and roll in the best way. He doesn't know how to play against the pick and roll when they playing up on the screen. A lot of times when you look at his gameplay, look at the footage, when he's best is when the team is playing drop coverage on the pick and roll, because he can shoot the bomb. He'll shoot it from 30. But with that being said, he still has the ability to turn the corner, and he'll go dunk on the big man. Unfortunately, he just had the Achilles injury in the playoffs, so we'll have to see how he comes back from that, which I think he'll be fine. But Dame is definitely top 50 of all time. We talking about skill set. We talking about ability. He's not in that top 30 where he probably should be when it's all said and done because of his defensive liabilities. He's not the best defensive player, especially for his size and for what the amount of effort he should be able to put. A lot of time he goes over screens and doesn't fight hard enough, or he'll go under a screen and just not fight through the screen enough, or he'll just get buckets just put on him all the time. So it's like he's definitely one of the most clutch players of all time, but he's definitely a top 50 player of all time for sure. Give me 1 second. Vince Carter at 65. Eight-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA, 16 points a game for his career. He played 22 seasons. So he had a great long career. Definitely one of the most talented guys to ever come through the league. Incredible athleticism. He turned himself to a great three-point shooter near the end of his career. When I watched Vince play, I kind of expected a little more from him. I kind of wanted him to kind of take the reins as a better player in the league. But he definitely had some injuries that kind of derailed that vision for his career. Still, before injuries, he just didn't click as one of the best. He was never considered the best player in the league for real. But him being at 65, he should for sure be close to that 50, 58 range. You know, what's that? 58, 8 spots is not a big difference, but he's definitely not 65. I can't name 65 better players than Vince Carter. I don't think anybody can for real. Joel Embiid, the injury king himself. Joel he's probably one of those players similar to Grant Hill and Tracy McGrady that his peak was so crazy, but injuries is really keeping us from experiencing the full potential of Joel Embiid. One-time MVP, 5-time All-NBA, 7-time All-Star, 3-time All-Defense, 2-time scoring champ. Joel is he's one of those guys for sure. 27 points a game, 11 boards, nearly 4 assists, blocking a half a game, shooting 50% from the field, and he is one of those 7-footers that plays along the perimeter as well. With 9 seasons played, you would like to see him get more healthy. So I'm not really as bothered at him being in the 60s. I would like to see him more close to the 50s, but injuries has prevented him from being able to play full seasons to see the full scope of his abilities. But he's definitely better than 98% of all the bigs that played before him. He's definitely better than them. Like, he's better than Paul Gasol. You go peak for peak, he's better than as a basketball player, he is better than Shaquille O'Neal. In terms of full ability in the basketball arena, he's a better defender than Shaq. He's arguably, I don't want to say he's arguably more dominant than Shaq, but him at his peak was arguably just as dominant as Shaq was, because you got to think he's 7'1", 7'2". He can shoot from 3. He can shoot from the mid range. He can back you down. He can play in the paint. You can't really do much to stop him. He can get off the rock and pass the ball a little bit, especially for his size. He's actually one of the best centers of all time, behind the likes of Hakeem. And there is a little rivalry between him and Jokic as the best bigs of today. I do think that when he is healthy, he is better than Joker because of the defensive factor. He is way better defender than Joker, and nearly as good as he is offensively. Taking away obviously his playmaking ability, Joker is just otherworldly when it comes to playmaking. But I would like to see JoJo as close to that 50 range players of all time, even with injuries. Dennis Rodman, 5-time champ, 2-time DPOY, 2-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Star, 8-time All-Defense, 7-time rebound champ. His game wasn't well-rounded enough to be considered top 100, in my opinion. I think that there are better players than him, but 7-time rebounding champ is crazy, especially in the era that he played in. He's not like he played in the 50s and the 60s where everybody was just shooting the ball so much. This is in the 90s when, you know, they were scoring 90 points in the game, 80 points in the game, 70 points in the game. So it's like he's getting a majority of the rebounds that's available to him. 7 points a game, 13 rebounds. Almost getting twice as many rebounds as points that you're getting is crazy, shooting 52% from the field. Great defensive player. His stats, getting less than a steal in the blocking game, does not really show the impact that he had on the defensive end. But he's for sure one of the top 75 greatest players of all time. Robert Parrish, 4-time champ, 9-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. Played 21 seasons. That's a great career, great long career. He did play. I think he played in the 70s and the 80s. A great big for that time. Being in the top 75 is solid for him. 14 points a game, 9 rebounds. He played 21 seasons, so I'm sure that his numbers were affected by that long term wise. So I know for sure that in his prime he was getting closer to that 10 to 12 rebounds a game range, which is what he should be, being a 7-footer. Parrish is one of 8 players to clear at least 20,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 2,000 blocks in his career. His company is Kevin Garnett, Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem, Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, and Shaquille O'Neal. So he's among the greatest bigs of all time in the things that that bigs do: scoring the ball, rebounding, and blocking the ball. So to have him on the lower end of the top 75 is kind of crazy. He should be close to that 60 to 59, 58 range. Then you got Kyrie Irving coming in at the end of the top 60 players of all time. 1-time champ, 9-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA. So similar to a lot of other players, we haven't been able to see the full scope of Kyrie Irving because of injuries. He's been injured a lot of times in his career. He's still been able to do what he does and become the player that he is. We have seen him at different levels of his peak, but haven't been able to see his peak for an extended period of time like we would want to. He's definitely in the conversation of being in the top 25 players of all time. Defensively, he can play defense. We've seen him play great defense. It's just that again, we come to size. He's 6'2", 6'3". So on a defensive end, and doesn't have the longest arms. He's not the biggest guy on the floor, not the most athletic. So defensively, he's going to have certain liabilities that do count against him. With a 23.7 points a game, 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 1 steal a game, shooting 47% from the field goal, and 39% from 3. He has been in that 50-40-90 club. Later in his career, has become one of the more efficient guys in the league, which is hard to do, being a guy who shoots the ball a lot, and he's a smaller guard in the league. So I think with being one of the best offensive players of all time, and arguably the most skilled player of all time, he should definitely be higher up on this list. Top 70 for him is crazy. There are for sure there for sure aren't 40 basketball players better than Kyrie Irving. So to put him, at 69 is disrespectful to what he's done for the league. Not to mention, I'm going to go back to Kyrie Irving. Not to mention, he actually changed the game. I remember growing up playing sports outside. Since Kyrie Irving came to the league, everybody trying to do crazy layups. They're trying to go jelly it. They're trying to go up and under, left to right, right to left. The dribble package changed the game. A lot of times he is left out of that conversation as most impactful players of all time. But he is just that. He is one of the most impactful players or inspirational players of all time, with the likes of Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, Allen Iverson, Kobe and them. He is in that tier of players of in terms of impact. Wes Unseld. Now he played in the '60s, so him being 70th, I like to see him a little lower, close to that 80 range, but it's a solid spot for him because he's not within that top 50 players of all time. There are still players like Paul George is for sure a better player than Wes Unseld. Uh, uh, what's the brother name from from the Celtics? Jason Tatum is a better player than Wes Unseld, and Jaylen Brown are better players than Wes Unseld. But him being at that 70 range, I would like to see him a little lower. Honestly, one-time champ, one-time MVP, one-time Finals MVP, 11-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star. He had a great career for his time. 10 points a game. It's crazy, especially with the pace of that time. But he was a undersized center at 6'7", and he was still grabbing 14 boards a game. But he's definitely not better than Jason Tatum, which is crazy that I haven't seen Jason Tatum on this list yet. Chris Bosh at 71. Immediately, Chris Bosh is better than Wes Unseld. So I don't know what Bleacher Report is doing. I don't know where they're getting the information from. 2-time champ, 11-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA. Averaging 19 points a game, 8.5 boards, 2 assists, 1 block. Definitely a great player. One of the greatest support players of all time. He was one of those guys that went from possibly being one of the best, one of the top 15 best. Have we seen Chris Webber on this list yet? That's kind of crazy. I think Chris Webber was a better player than Chris Bosh, even at his peak. But Chris Bosh is one of those players who could have been a top 15 to 20 power forward of all time, maybe top 10 to 15 power forward of all time. But to get championships and to play with better players, he ended up playing with Bron and Dwayne Wade and had to take a way lesser role. Similar to Kevin Love, who in his own right was a monster up in Minnesota and a monster up in Toronto for Chris Bosh. I definitely would like to see him closer to that 60 greatest players of all time range. Although his career got cut short due to blood clots and risking his life to play basketball, it's not worth it, of course. But he had a 13-year career, which is a great career. Paul Arzon. Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. Played 10 years all right. Rookie of the Year in 1951. No. If you played in the 50s, bro, it's not enough, man. If you played in the 50s, in order to be considered top 75, you have to put up some ridiculous numbers. 22.8 points a game on 42% field goal percentage is not crazy enough to be considered a top 75 players of all time for that era. When the pace was so crazy, and we all know the skill level was lower than what the standard has now been set at. He has to be lower on this list. That's why we need to just make concise list of top 20 players of all time and then break that down, or actually top 25 players of all time, or top 30, top 50, and break them down into eras. We can do every 10 years. That's kind of short. I want to say every 20 years. So for every 20-year span from the beginning of the league, so from the 40, whatever the league started, until the 60s. 60s to 80s, 80s to 2000s. Those need or 80s to the year 2000, and then from 2001 to 2020, there needs to be lists like that. That's been set so that we can accurately see players for who they are for when they were. Otherwise, you're just gonna have lists where guys are gonna discount what a player had achieved within that time. Hal Greer, 15-year career, one-time champ, 10-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA, 19 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 45% from the field. I guess solid numbers for his time. He played in the 60s and the 70s. Standing at 6'2", was a feisty rebounder for his size, clearing 5 boards a game. I feel like that's a little standard at 6'2", getting around 4 to 5 rebounds a game. I wouldn't call that feisty. I would call getting like around Russ. Russ was a feisty rebounder for his size. Jason Kidd was a feisty rebounder for his size, clearing 5 boards a game. As great as that is, I wouldn't call that feisty. Although he is among Chris Paul and Jerry West as the only player 6'3" or under to have 20,000 points and 5,000 rebounds. So that's, he was a great player for his era. 73 is a little high for him. I would like to see him close to that 80, 85 range, but he was a great player in his own right. Dave Cowens played in the 70s, late 60s. Won Rookie of the Year in the 70s. So he started in the 70s. Played 11 seasons, 2-time champ, 1-time MVP. Yeah, he's not better than Jason Tatum, which is crazy that we haven't seen him on his list yet. He's not better than Manu Ginobili either. 4-time champ, 1-time Sixth Man of the Year, 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. Manu was one of those players that you can bring off the bench, but he was really a starter. But when you compare him with other starters in the league or other starters in his position of all time, 75 is actually great for him. I actually agree with this. I agree with Manu Ginobili as 75, best player of all time. I can't say too much bad about this. It's actually a solid position for him. Obviously, he will move further up the list towards that 60 range, 65 range, because the list is it's filled with so many players that are way higher than they should be. But 75 is solid for him. 3-time All-NBA, 8-time All-Star, 1-time scoring champ. Alex English, 15-time career, great career. 21 points a game, 5.5 rebounds, and just over 3.5 assists a game, shooting 50% from the field, which is great for a 2-guard. English scored about 2,500 more total points in the decade than anyone else. So he was the greatest scorer of the 80s. So he was a great player. Being top 76, that's a great spot for him, especially considering where the game has moved. Yeah, I like that. 15-year career, long career. A bucket before the term even existed. English was a slithery wing who posted 8 straight seasons of at least 2,000 points and retired as the top 10 scorer of all time. So yeah, top 80 player of all time is perfect spot for him. So we got Pistol Pete, 4-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star, 1-time scoring champ. This is the range that Pistol Pete is supposed to be in. Top 80, maybe even top 90. He didn't play too long, 10-year career, great career. Definitely revolutionized the game in terms of creativity or people being able to see the creativity that you can bring to the game. in terms of dribbling, passing, all this type of stuff. His skill level was peak for the time that he was in. So I don't disagree with him being at 77 of all time. He's not better than Jason Tatum for sure, but he's definitely at top 80 player of all time. See Paul, and then have him before Paul George is what's crazy, because Paul George, is an elite two-way player, playing both sides of the floor, regardless of his recent woes in his career. He's still arguably one of the greatest two-way players that the league has seen in terms of ability, not in terms of effectiveness. Because with Paul George, his biggest thing is the mental ability to continue to play at the highest level with everything going on around him. We obviously can see that has an effect on the way he plays the game. We saw that in the bubble. We see that in Philly so far. He has had injuries that he's had to come back from, which props to him. He's had a 15-year career so far, which is a great long career. 6-time All-NBA, 9-time All-Star, 4-time All-Defense, 1-time Steal Champ. He's had a great career. He's definitely better than 75, 77 other players in the league. He's for sure top 65 players of all time, arguably top 50 for sure. Grant Hill, better. He had better potential than Paul George. He just was so injury ridden. He tried to play through so many injuries that he shouldn't have played through. Came back too early from certain injuries that he shouldn't have come back from so early. Definitely hindered his career. But he's definitely he's definitely a top 70 player of all time, injuries included. Just because of when he did play, you could clearly see that his talent level, his ability to put the ball in the basket was just light years ahead of a lot of other players in the league. 5-time All-NBA, 7-time All-Star, averaging 16 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Definitely one of the better players, but I can see why he slid down the list because of those injury woes that he did occur or go through. Tiny Nate Archibald. 1-time champ, 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 1-time scoring champ, 1-time assist champ. Great player for his era throughout the 70s, and he did his thing. Archibald joins Oscar Robertson, who did it 5 times, and Russell Westbrook as the only players to join the 30-point, 10-assist club in the same season. So he was a great player in his own right. Top 80? Top 80 player of all time is exactly where he belongs. I don't think he was too high on his list or too low. I just think that the other players on this list, highest is 52 is crazy. But I think that 80 is a respectable position for him. Dikembe Mutombo at 81. That's a great position for him. Although he is one of the greatest defensive players at the center position of all time, behind only Hakeem Olajuwon all time for career blocks, he still had offensive issues in his career that makes it understandable of why he is 81 in career all time. So I don't have too much to say about him. 18-year career, great career, 8 points, nearly 10 points a game, 10 boards, on over 2.5 blocks a game, shooting 51%. So he had a great career for as long as he played. R.I.P. Dikembe. Bob Lanier, 8-time All-Star, 20 points a game, 10 boards, career 20 and 10 guy, shooting 50% from the field. averaging 20 and 10 with 3 assists for nearly 1,000 games. So he had a longevity. Great player for his time. So I do believe that this spot is solid for him. In terms of his peak, I do think that he's probably better than other players within his era. So he could be a little higher on this list. Higher than Nate Archibald, in my opinion, yes. Uh, but him being at 82, I'm not mad at it. He could actually be lower because he doesn't have the same accolades as some of the other players in his era has. He only has the All-Star selections. Jimmy Butler at 83. Jimmy is not better than Jason Tatum, and the fact that we still hasn't seen Jason Tatum on this list yet is crazy. 18.3 points a game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1.5 steals, shooting 47 and 32% from the field and 3-point line. 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Defense, 1-time Steals champ. Jimmy Butler is one of those players that should be higher on this list, but I'm not mad at him being at 83 just because of the truth behind his game. The bubble, he had a great run in the bubble and shortly thereafter. But I also think that what happened throughout the league was also a factor into how he was able to string together those moments. He is a great two-way player, one of the best two-way players in the league. Great story, whatever that means. People like that type of stuff. Played 14 years, great career so far. Him being top 85, I'm not mad at it. He's definitely a top 80 player of all time. Adrian Dantley, 2-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Star, NBA Rookie of the Year, 2 scoring titles. He was a great player of his time, shooting 54% from the field, which is great. 24 points a game, 5 rebounds, just under 6 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game, 1 steal. Played 15 seasons, so he had a great long career. One of the top wings of the 80s. Best season came where he played for Utah, averaging 29.6 points a game, shooting 56% shooting across 7 seasons, which is incredible efficiency. Off the efficiency alone, with the number of points he was getting, ranks first all time of players 6'5" and shorter with a minimum of 10,000 career field goal attempts. He's definitely one of the most efficient players of all time and should be held, within higher regards. He should definitely be higher than 84 on his list, close to that 75 range. Sam Jones. Yeah, when you get to this part of the list, a lot of these players can be cool. Like this list right here is cool once you get to this point. Lonzo Mourning, I think, is better than Sam Jones from the clips that I've seen of Sam Jones. But Alonzo Mourning definitely deserves to be in that 80 to 90 of all time range. 1-time champ, 2-time DPOY, 7-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defense, 2-time block champ, played 15 years. Had a solid career within the modern era of the NBA. So him being at 87, I can't be too mad at. This list is messed up. Draymond Green at 88. This is kind of where he belonged. He did not really belong in that top 75 players of all time list. I know people wanted him to be in that list. Highest ranking is 43. That's insane because he doesn't bring that to the table. Because to be a top 50, you have to have every part of the game. You have to be great. Not even great at it. You have to be good at every part of the game. Great in some areas of the game. 4-time champ, 1-time DPOY, 2-time All NBA, 4-time All Star, 9-time All Defense, 1-time champ, steals champ. Not reaching double digits for career stats in any category is definitely concerning. But when you watch his game, you definitely can tell the impact that he has on the game, and it doesn't really show up in the stat sheet. So I would like to see him close to that 90 range, but he does have a lot more impact than the players in that 90 to 100 range should have. Earl Monroe, 1968 rookie year. We don't have to say too much about players in the 60s. I feel like I done said a lot of stuff about players that played in the 60s and in the 70s already. It's just the times has changed too much. You know, niggas can vote now. Women can vote now. Like, yeah, it's time to move on from that. Chris Webber being at 90 is crazy. I feel like Chris Webber is definitely a top 75 players of all time. Maybe even a top 50 player of all time. We talk about peak for peak, player for player. He's one of those guys who can do it all. Averaging 20 points a game, 9.8 rebounds, 4 assists, almost 1.5 blocks for 1.5 for steals and blocks respectively. Shooting nearly 48% from the field. 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 1-time rebound champ. Definitely underrated according to this list. He's definitely better than 90 players of all time. Highest rank at 69. I definitely think that highest rank should be around that 60 rank, that 60 point. Yeah, he's for sure better than a lot of players that he's better than Tony Parker, who was above him on this list. He's better than all the players in the 70s and 80s in terms of skill set, what he brings to the game, and his ability to put the ball in the basket. He's better than those players. And he's better than Manu Ginobili. So him being at 90 and those other players being in the 80s is actually disrespectful for what he brought to the game. Chauncey Billups at 91, 1-time champ, 1-time finals MVP, 5-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, 2-time All-Defense. Played 17 years, missed a big shot. One of the ones. Being a 91 is actually solid for him. On my personal list, I think I have him around 85. So it's good to see that he's not too far away from that. I do think that he is an overlooked player for his day. But that's just because he didn't really play on those certain teams that were getting those looks all the time. Lenny Wilkins is 9-time All-Star, 1-time assist champ. Mind you, the last 20, 30 players we've named is not better than Jason Tatum. Currently. Not better than 30 points a game in the finals. They're not better than that. And we still haven't seen him on this list yet. Lenny Wilkins, I'm assuming he's ready for his era. Obviously, I didn't see him play as many. Highest ranking coming at 43 was like a nod to how good he was for his era. But you know, the numbers don't jump out off the sheet for you. 16.5 points a game, just over 4.5 rebounds a game, just over 6.5 assists a game, one steal a game, shooting 43% from the field. You know, good player in his own right. Then finally we get to Jason Tatum at 93. 1-time champ, 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. Played 8 seasons. Career 23.5 points a game, 7 rebounds, nearly 4 assists, 1 steal, shooting 45% from the field, 37% from 3. One of the great players of all time. Definitely an overhated player. And I feel like that's just because of the success he saw early on, which I think, in my opinion, is crazy. Because when you go back and look, I don't think that Magic was as hated as Jason Tatum is. And he had similar early success in terms of getting to the finals earlier in his career and staying amongst those contending teams for an extended period of time uh, within entering the league. I don't think there are many players that are as hated, at least currently, as Jason Tatum has been. Obviously, seeing that he's 93 of all time. He's a good player to play on both sides of the ball. I definitely think that he's too low on this list. He definitely should be in that top 70, top 50 of all time range. And he's just getting started in his career. He definitely could play 8 more seasons, and that the whole rhetoric on him and Luka and those players in that range would definitely change. 93 is just disrespectful to what he has done for the game so far. Bill Sharman. Sharman team with Bob Cousy. 1950 to 1960. Look at his face. No. With all due respect, he's not one of them. Top 100. We talking about top 100 out of 3,000. It's not cutting it. Team with Bill Russell. Like, when you're on a team that stacked for that era and you playing against 8 teams, 4-time champ, 7-time All-NBA, 8-time All-Star. Yeah, it's not cutting it. Like somebody accounting or something. Dave DeBusschere. 2-time champ, 8-time All-Star, 1-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Defense. 16 points a game, 11 rebounds a game, nearly 3 assists a game, shooting 43%, played 12 years in the NBA. Had a good career. Highest ranking being at 54 is crazy. I definitely think there are better players than him, but him being at the near end of this list is exactly where he belongs. Not saying that he's not a great player in his own right. Obviously, he made it to the league, and he was one of the better players of his era. But the time has just changed a little too much. Joe Dumars, 2-time champ, 1-time Finals MVP, 3-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-Defense. This is where he belongs in this list as well. He could actually be a little higher on this list. But obviously, when you're the second option on your team, or there's another player that's considered one of the greatest of all time on your team, you're going to be looked at as lower than what you actually are. Great defensive player, especially being somewhat undersized for the 2-guard position. I think he was like around 6'3", 6'4", maybe 6'5" on his best day. But definitely a top 100 player of all time. Rounding out the list, we have Bernard King, which is where he belongs. Nearing the end of the top 100. I definitely think he's better than other players within his era. So to have him lower on the list than a lot of those other players is disrespectful to what he does, what he did. But 22.5 points a game, nearly 6 rebounds and 3 assists a game, shooting 51% from the field. It's nothing to laugh at. Played 14 years in the NBA, 4-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, 1-time scoring champ. He did his thing in the 80s. Klay Thompson, arguably the second best shooter of all time, depending on who you're talking to and what year you want to talk about. 4-time champ, 2-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star, 1-time All-Defense, 19 points a game, 3.5 rebounds, nearly 2.5 assists, shooting 45% from field goal, and 41% from 3 for a career, which is insane. Shooting over 40% from 3 is already all-time great feat in his own right. Shooting 41% is out of this world. Played 12 seasons so far. Did have 2 major injuries in his career, so we know he's on the tail end of his career. But being in that top 100 range is exactly where he should be. I definitely think that he's better than a lot of players that's on this list. probably 15 to 20 players on his list, he is a better player than Mr. Microwave himself. Only player that I know that can score 60 points with under 15 dribbles. He had like 11 dribbles and scored 60 points. Like ridiculous shooter, one of the best shooters of all time. Dave Bing at 99. Played in the 60s, so we're not going to say too much about bro. Didn't have much of a lineup, we see. And then running out the 100 is Artis Gilmore. One-time NBA champ. So all this stuff don't count because they don't count this for the NBA. They don't add ABA accomplishments into the NBA, so I don't know why they added this onto the list. But yeah, one of the best bigs of his era. And that rounds out the top 100 list that they just put out. I definitely think that they need to revamp this list. They have a lot of players on this list that do not belong on the list. They did leave out a few players. Notably, the players are a little younger. They left out players like, I think Rasheed Wallace should have been on this list. He's definitely better than Dave Bing. Yeah. As a whole, this list was just a lot of players that they just decided to throw together. They probably just took the old list and didn't want to move too many other players off the list, whether it's because they passed away or just the respect for what the players have done before them. But in that respect for what players have done before them, they also, in that same token, are disrespecting players that came after them by keeping them on the list ahead of them. So with all that being said, thanks for watching. If you want to see more content like this, please let me know. Drop a comment, drop a like, follow me on the gram at Dono773. Follow me on YouTube, Kick, Dono773 on Kick, and Dono2773 on Twitch and YouTube, respectively. And thanks for watching. Peace.